have something I want to share with you. I'm going to go and eventually get to Daniel, the 3rd chapter. But before I get to Daniel, the 3rd chapter, I'm going to do a walk up to it. In Daniel, the 1st chapter, we hear a story of how there were 4 Hebrew men, and they were selected by the king. They were selected by the king to be chosen. They were chosen by the king, and they were chosen. They were chosen even though they were enslaved. They were enslaved. They were in bondage, but they were chosen. And he said, I want there to be some people. I want there to be some children. I want them to be some people that I can train, and I can raise them up in the Babylonian culture. And I want to raise them up so that I might train them and that I might change them. And there were 4. They were named Daniel, Hananiah, Azrael, and Mishael. He had these 4, and he brought them, and he said, and when I bring them, I'm going to train them up into the Babylonian culture. The first thing, and as they moved on, it says that I want to train them, and I want to raise them up, and I want them to eat certain things, and I want them to be able to drink certain things. But it says in verse 8 of Daniel chapter 1 and verse 8, it says, but Daniel purposed in his heart not to do what the system wanted him to do. The system wanted him to do one thing, but he decided not to do what the system was doing. 4 years ago, when we started this church, many of us were in a situation where had we not been pulled, the first thing is, had we not been pulled out of where we were, we would not be where we are today. The system was saying that church does not work. The system was saying that leadership does not work. The system was saying that we people cannot be trusted, and they were trying to conform us to be what everybody else was. But there were some people that purpose in their heart that I don't care what has gone before me, I will not be that. Daniel purposed in his heart. He said, I will not defile myself with the system. I will not be like everybody else is. I will not be like everybody else has done. I will be different. Someone say, I will be different. So Daniel purposed in his heart that he would not defile himself, and because of that, the eunuch said, well, hey, if you don't do what the king says to do, and if you don't eat what the king says to eat, then I don't want my position to be vacant. I don't want to get fired from my position, so you're going to have to do what the king says. So there will always be people in your life who will always try to tell you, you don't have to live like that, you don't have to pray like that, you don't have to press into the presence of God like that, because if you do that, and then maybe things won't operate for you. You can sleep with whoever you want to and still get married. Test it out before you're driving. Do whatever you want to do. But there are some people in the room who said, I purposed in my heart that I'm not going the way of society. I'm not going the way that everybody else says. I purpose in my heart. Someone say, it's in my heart. It's in my heart. It's not because I've seen it. I might have come out of a system. I might have come out of a family situation where I have never seen stability. But I decided, as Joshua said, as for me and my house, we will serve the Lord. We will worship God. I might not have seen it, but I purposed in my heart. Someone say purpose. I purposed it in my heart. So he told the eunuch, he said, I don't care what the system says. I'm following God. I'm doing what God tells me to do. Now, the interesting thing about this is that even though he purposed in his heart, the king decided, remember the names were Daniel, Hananiah, Azrael, and Mishael, but the king said, I want to change their name to fit the culture. So he changed their name from Daniel to Belteshazzar, changed the other one's name to Meshach, the other one's name to Abednego, another one to Meshach, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, changed their name. And I want to tell you, there's some things that there's some things that have happened in year one, there's some things that have happened in your season, that the only thing they wanted to do was change your identity. The only thing it was after was to change who you are. They were not after your car. They weren't after your marriage. They want to change your character, change your nature. But someone say, I'm purpose. I will not be changed. I don't care what it doesn't look like. I will not be changed. So they changed their name. But even though they changed their name, they didn't change what was in their heart. They called them something different, but was their covenant right was in their heart. It means to say, you can call me what you want, but that doesn't mean I'm going to answer to it. You can say whatever you want about me, but that doesn't mean I'm going to conform to it. Everybody else might be a statistic, but I'm defying the odds. I'm defying what they said. I know what my resume said. I know what they said in the application, but I will not be what you think I am. Come on, Sim. Come on, Mufasa. You are more than what you have become. Look at someone and say, I'm more than this. I'm more than this. So Daniel purpose in his heart. I know I'm not teaching today. I feel like preaching today. So Daniel said, I'm not going to be what you want me to be. I'm going to be something different. So he said, test me. He said, if you think I won't be successful, test me. Test me and see if I don't do it God's way, if God won't honor it. So for a period of time, they did not indulge in the king's delicacies. They did not indulge in the king's wines, and they backed away from what the system was doing. And they said, I'm going to seek God in the midst of what the system is doing. And at the ending of those days, it says when they came forth, they were better than everybody else. They were wiser than everybody else. There was something different about them. Look at someone and say, there's something different about me. There's something. It's not that I'm not going through the same thing you're going through, but there's something about what's in me that won't let me give up. There's something about what's in me that won't let me succumb. I'm not the first person who got cancer. I'm not the first person who had a divorce, but I can't sit around and cry like you do, because I know that there's more than this. This is just a comma. This is not a period. This is just a comma. The Bible says that I was in sin. I was in this, but God, who is rich in mercy. Anybody have a but God in your life, that it was supposed to go this way and it was supposed to go that way, but God, he put a comma, and the reason that I am what I am, and the reason I preach the way I preach, and the reason that you're sitting here today is because of all the but Gods that have happened in my life. It's not that I didn't want to go a wrong way. It's not that I didn't want to go a bad way, but God, who is rich in mercy. God ain't broke. Somebody say God ain't broke. Some of y'all are used to being in broke churches, but God ain't broke. My Father is rich in houses and in lands. Look at somebody and say, my God is blinging. So because of the but God, because of the but God, it came out better. Now I got to make an announcement to a lot of you. Some of you going to come out better than what you started. Because I'm going to come out better. And they came out because, and the only way that they got to where they were is because they were pulled. They were in a system that was designed to destroy them. But the only reason that they wound up better is because they were pulled into better. Some of you didn't want to be where you are had God not pulled you. It's not that you just woke up speaking in tongues. Something pulled you into his presence. Psalms 42:1 says, as the deer pants for the water, so my soul is pulled. Sometimes you got to check your soul. I command my soul to bless the Lord. I command my soul to honor you. I'm pulling myself into better. I'm pulling myself into a better situation. Someone just holler out, pull yourself. Sometimes you have to pull yourself. It's not that you don't want to stop cussing, but sometimes people pull you into situations that you don't want to be in. So you've got to grip yourself and pull yourself back out of it and say, I will not conform to what you want me to be. I'm pulling myself into better because I see myself better than what you got me struggling for. I see myself beyond this attitude. I see myself beyond multiple partners. I see myself above deadbeat jobs. I see myself above. Pull yourself. Someone say pull yourself. Matter of fact, just go ahead and grab your future and pull it. Just pull it. I'm pulling myself into something I've never even seen before. I'm pulling myself into prayer. I'm pulling myself into intercession. I'm pulling myself into tithing. I'm pulling myself into loving. I'm pulling myself into giving. I'm pulling myself into forgiving. I'm pulling myself. I'm pulling. Someone say pull yourself. So because they pulled, they got pulled into it. They responded to the pull. Because sometimes it's not that God's not calling you, but you won't respond to the pull. Because Daniel, Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah could have said, we in bondage. You can't use me like this. But they say, God, if you want to call me out of this, I don't know what it looks like, but I'm responding to the pull. I'm responding to better. Some of you are only in the jobs you're in because of a pull. You wouldn't have even applied for it had it not been for a pull. Some of you are in Kentucky right now because of a pull. You never in a million years had Kentucky on your list of places to go. It was not one of your dream destinations. But for some reason, when you went to sleep at night, something kept pulling you. And something kept saying, what in the world? Why am I thinking about the bluegrass state where there are no metropolitan areas? There are a lot of horses, but ain't a whole lot of things going on. I got to go to Louisville to the latest attraction. What is this? Someone say, he pulled me. He pulled me. Come on, Samuel. I didn't even know the Lord, but I kept hearing him. I kept going to Eli, and Eli said, I didn't call you. God, are you pulling me? Sometimes he'll pull you. He'll pull you into better because you don't know what's good for you. You love where you are, so you try to stay where you are, but sometimes he knows what's best for you, so he'll pull you. Some of you have been complaining far too long, so God had to pull you out of it. The reason you're not better is because you haven't responded to the pull. Someone say respond to the pull. So that's Daniel chapter 1. So after that, God used him because of what was in his heart. Second chapter, Nebuchadnezzar, same king who tried to put them in bondage, same king. This king had a dream. Jesus, the king had a dream that could not be interpreted. He called the astrologers and called the magicians, and he said, can you interpret my dream? Interpret for me what I cannot understand. The people who were set in position could not interpret what his dream was. So he said, I need somebody that can interpret my dream. So he got pulled in the first chapter. But in the second chapter, it says that Daniel responded. And when he responded, he said, you know what? I might not be able to interpret it on my own, but dreams belong to God. I can seek God, and God will tell me what you need. When he sought the Lord gave him the answer that the system needed. The system had an issue. And when I'm talking about system, I'm talking about your social status, your people people who are on your Instagram follow, people that are around you. There are people who have a need, and they're not liking your picture because your picture's so nice. They're liking it because they're thirsty. They have a need. And many of us are not able to answer it because we're not seeking the Lord. But Daniel sought the Lord. He said, I respect God more than I respect your position. So he sought the Lord, and when he sought the Lord, it says that God gave him the answer to his need. And when God gave him the answer to what the king was dreaming, it says that the king put Daniel in a better position. So the first thing is, many of us got pulled, but once you respond to the pull, the second thing is that God will then promote you. Now, if y'all really received that word, somebody would have took off running down the aisle. Because what happens is, the only way to be completely successful is to answer somebody's need. If there's a need and you can feel it, you will always be in business. The only reason that Growth Point has grown to what it has grown to is not because of my preaching, not because of our music, not because we meet at 1 o'clock, but obviously there was a need in Lexington that needed to be filled. Hear me, there have been many other churches that started before Growth Point that did not last. They had greater flyers than we had. The preaching style was so much better than mine. They had and God said it. And sometimes I tell you that all that stuff that was scary and spooky. But there was a whole bunch of people who was not going to that. And they tried it, and then some churches grew so big that were church plants grew so big, but grew so big at the expense of the women that they slept with. And they said the secret was safe with them. But there's no scorn like a woman scorned. So it could not work, and the churches folded. And all of a sudden, there were people like Claudia, and there were people like other people. I won't go down the roll call. There were people who loved God but had nowhere to go. People who wanted authentic. They didn't care if there was a praise team or not. Didn't care, even though Dr. Manuel and I love Hammond B3 organs, even though there was no organ. They cared nothing about an organ. They said, just be real. Not be real and ratchet, but be real. Be who you say you are. Say what you say. Mean what you say. Be authentic. That's what they wanted. And I did not want to pastor. Let the church go silent. Because a whole bunch of people want to be pastors and are not called. A whole lot of people want to be in the front just because it looks great. But I want to ask you, can you go through what we've gone through? Can you stand the test? Can you stand being ridiculed? Can you stand being laid off on your job and just trust in God and not even sure how he's going to make a way? Can you minister to your family when you really need somebody to minister to you? Can you look at your wife and say, God's going to make a way when you're not really sure when and how he's going to, but you just know that he will? Can you learn how to preach by going to hell first? I didn't start this based on competition with anybody else. I started this because hell was overflowing. I started this because I was tired of people being manipulated. Tired of people going through. So some people in Lexington had a dream that nobody can interpret. Had an itch could nobody scratch. Bisexuals and homosexuals and transgender didn't have anywhere to go because everybody was changing their sermons to talk about their sin instead of talking about what they were doing. So everybody, and then when I started opening up the door for everybody, then they start saying I was sleeping with the people I was welcoming. That's why he likes homosexuals. That's why he likes bisexual, because you know he is on the down low. I am. Looking at your stuff. Because it's always good for people to see the speck in your eye. They don't see the beam in theirs. Then people said we couldn't do it because we were starting at 1 o'clock. Then people said we couldn't do it because I didn't wear a robe every Sunday. Then people said we couldn't do it because I was playing the keyboard, and then I would play the keyboard, tell y'all shake hands, and I would come up here and preach. I would do all that, and then after I preach, I would go back to the keyboard so we could have altar call music. And people said it would never work because you're going to struggle. But I'm looking 4 years later, and I'm still trying to find the struggle. I'm still trying to find what they said. I'm still trying to find out what they said was going to happen. All I know is that 4 years later, God got the glory. All I know is 4 years later, God answered the dream. All I know 4 years later, that I sought the Lord, and he told me what to do about Lexington. I sought the Lord. He told me what to do about Gulfport. Didn't have nothing to do with my oratorical skills, and nothing to do with my seminary degree that I don't have, but I sought the Lord, and he gave me the oil. I sought the Lord. He gave me the power. It's not by my might. It's not by my power, but it's by his Spirit. He promoted us. Because somebody say, God did it. So God promoted him, Quetta, because he sought the Lord. I wanted there to be a place that people could come and not be judged. I want there to be a place that people can get to Christ before they get to church. I don't want people to have a good bump and have no purpose. I don't want people to be eating carpet but can't walk in destiny. I don't want people to be laid hands on every single week and say, I'm so powerful. I want people to learn how to lay hands on their own self and say, God is powerful. God is great. I don't want people to be judged whether or not they spoke in tongues or not. But I do want to make sure that they knew that they could be filled with the precious gift of the mighty Holy Ghost if they want it. But even if they don't want it yet, eventually God will fill you if you want it. Someone say, if you want it, if you want it. I want it there to be a place that we could be casual but still have anointing. I want there to be a place that we can have power and still have purpose. I want to be a place that we can pursue holiness, but we don't have to be apostolic. We don't have to be a denomination, but we can pursue the kingdom. We can pursue his righteousness. We can pursue his power without being clones of a denomination. There was a dream people had. People were looking for a place. They didn't know. They kept going all these different places. Astrologers and magicians and going all these different places and couldn't find any place. But all of a sudden God put it in Daniel's heart to pray. And when he prayed, God answered. But the interesting thing about this, Miss Bridget, is that this is going to mess you up. Real promotion is not just for you. Timing. Daniel got promoted. But you know what Daniel did, Sterling? Daniel said, thank you for the position, but what about my friend Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego? don't just promote me, put them in position too. God wanted there to be a church where the pastor and his wife were not the only people who lived nice. Where the people at the top were not the only people who knew it. But God wanted to say, no, there's got to be somebody who says everything you learn, give it to them. Everything that you experience, show them how to experience. Anytime you grow, show them how to grow. So can anybody who's been here for any length of time, can you honestly say that I've held anything back from you? Anytime I've messed up, was I the first person to say, you know, I was sorry, I didn't mean to do that. I probably shouldn't have done it that way. But you know, I'm a work in progress. Is there anybody that can say that you have been able to grow together and I'm not the only one growing? Some of y'all, the reason that I celebrate you is because some of y'all were here when my khakis were too big. When I was sitting up here on a stool trying to be the black Joel Osteen, and y'all still came. I was trying to figure it out, but you still came. I wasn't really sure if my verbs and my syntaxes were always together, but you still came. I wasn't sure if I was doing exactly what I was supposed to do the right way, but you still came. We were not Baptist, we were not Methodist, we were not Catholic, we were not Christian, we were not apostolic, we were not full gospel, we were just Growth Point Church, and you still came. You were willing to be ridiculed by people, you were willing to be talked about by people, but you still came. And I want to tell you that if God elevates me, and if God promotes me, you better be for sure that whatever he does in me, it's got to happen to you too. Look at somebody and say, it's got to happen to you too. High five 7 people and tell them what's coming to me is coming to you too. If peace is coming to my house, peace is coming to yours. If joy is coming to my house, joy is coming to yours. If breakthrough is coming to me, breakthrough is coming to yours. I don't want to be the only one who's got it. Growth is coming to a city near you. Whatever I got is for you too. Feel like Oprah, you get joy, you get peace, you get calm, you get a car, you get a car, you get a car. Look at somebody, everybody's got growth. So he said, I don't want to just grow on my own. I want my friends to grow with me. That's what true evangelism is. True evangelism doesn't mean it. True evangelism isn't just walking around being deep. True evangelism is saying, come see a man who told me all things that I ever did. Come experience something that I never would have experienced before. I never thought I would experience. They say, aren't you still smoking? I said, yeah, but just be patient with me. Just be patient with me. I feel him taking the taste out of my mouth. Matter of fact, come watch me grow. Watch me struggle in purpose. Watch me struggle out loud. I ain't no closet. I'm sorry. I ain't no closet. I ain't nobody's trying to keep it. I want you to see me struggle, and then I want you to see him deliver me in front of all of y'all. Watch me grow. I'm not ashamed of my story. Look at someone say, I ain't ashamed of this. If you want to be a part of it, I ain't ashamed of it. If you stay around me, you might see something that ain't delivered yet. You might see something that ain't set free. But if you stay with me long enough, you're going to say, girl, don't you remember? Yes, I do. Now, I used to pour the glasses for all of y'all. Now I'm giving all of y'all communion, and I'm saying, consider yourself. Lord, I feel like preaching on this anniversary. He promoted. My promotion was not just about me, Desmond, but my promotion was about all my friends. I don't have no car you can't drive in. I don't have no couch you can't sit on. I don't have a steak that I can't break you off a piece of it. I may say save the fat for me, but I'll share it. Come on, Mr. Leon. But whatever I got, whatever I got, it's yours. So let me go on to this long-winded message. So after that, And then, don't talk about me tomorrow, I'll flunk you in gospel ensemble. So after that, it said after they got promoted, they got promoted. I can't get off of that. They got promoted. Why do you keep wanting to go places without people? Just to say you look nice and flossing, just to show to other people. I want to look around the room and say, look at what God has done in us. Look at what God has done together, what we have allowed God to do. Many people said to me this week, as we were heading to our anniversary, April, many people said, well, who's preaching your anniversary? I said, look no further. I don't know. They said, well, why don't you bring somebody else in and have them talk to you and have you encourage them? I said, I don't need nobody. I don't want nobody. I don't think I'm so great. But I don't think nobody knows our story like I do. To be able to look out in you, and you can look at me, and we can say, look at what God has done. I'm going to bring John Hannah in one day. I'm going to bring all these authentic prophets in eventually. But right now, I want us to celebrate what God is doing in each other. Look at your neighbor and say, I appreciate what you're doing. Just, come on. You still got a little attitude, but I appreciate that you're working on it. You used to deny it. You used to say, I ain't got no attitude. I'm like, but now you be like, I'm a work, babe. I'm working on it. I'm working on it. At least you're working on it. Come on, Kendra. So God will promote you. So after that, here's what I really want to get to, is that after that, it says in chapter 3, I told you I was going to get there eventually, in chapter 3, it says that Nebuchadnezzar the king made an image of gold whose height was 60 cubits. And he goes on and he says, and King Nebuchadnezzar sent words to everybody that everybody follow when they hear the music, when they hear the sound, that when they hear this, well, I'm in verse 4, when they hear this, when they hear the sound of the horn, the flute, the harp, the lyre, the psaltery, and when they hear all types of music, that they are to fall down and worship. I want you to understand this. If the enemy can't get you on one thing, he'll keep trying until he gets you on something. He might have failed in some other seasons, but if you give him time, he's going to find what your button is. And he's going to keep pushing until he finally finds something. So he said, I'm going to use music now. Have them fall down and worship the golden image that I set up. And whoever does not fall down and worship will be cast down immediately into the fiery furnace. So at that time in verse 7, it says, when the people, someone say the people. When the people heard, they did what the king wanted. They complied. But at verse 8 says, but therefore at a certain time Chaldeans came forward and they accused the Jews and they said, King, now didn't you say that whoever doesn't fall and worship will be cast into a fiery furnace? That's what you said? He said, yeah, I did. I said it. Now, come on, go in. What you said, I did say that. He said in verse 12, he says, well, there are certain Jews, namely Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, because people always want to tell what somebody else is doing. Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, these men, you promoted them, but they're not doing what, when you've been promoted, you're supposed to do what everybody else does, right? Because you want to protect your money. So you want to protect your money, you want to protect where you are, so you want to comply with everybody else. You just want to go along to get along because you don't want to lose your position. And there's a lot of people like that who are more concerned about their position than they are about their purpose. So they'll protect their position because I don't want to lose my job. I don't want to lose that. Now, did you hear? No, don't say nothing. I ain't losing my position. So he said, these people, aren't they supposed to do what you say? But Shadrach and Meshach, they're not doing what you say. Verse 16 says, so the king was mad. Verse 16, Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego, they answered the king. They said, oh, Nebuchadnezzar, we heard. There's no need for us to answer you. If you have any assignment this week for social media, don't respond to everything. I should get an offering on that. Because some of y'all have the ministry of clapback. It's not one of the spiritual gifts. But you got the ministry of I got to tell them. And everything you feel like you need to say, you don't have to say. So they responded, I know, Brother Leon, but I got to go on because it's the anniversary. They can't hear me today. It's all right. So he said, we have no need to answer you in this matter. We're not answering. And he said, if you decide to throw us in the fire, if that's the case, the God whom we serve is able to deliver us from the burning fire, and he will deliver us from your hand. But if not, let it be known, O king, that we will not serve your gods. We will not worship your image that you have set up. So Nebuchadnezzar was full of fury. The expression on his face changed. He spoke, said, heat the furnace up 7 times. I've been loving that number 7 for the last few weeks. He said, heat the furnace up 7 times more than it was usually heated. And he commanded certain mighty men of valor who were in the army to bind Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego and cast them into the burning fiery furnace. Brother Keenan, I'm almost finished. I'm not going to do a close, but I'm almost finished. You might want to prepare. He says, put them into the burning fiery furnace. Verse 21 says, these men were bound in their clothes. Everything they had on, they were bound, and they were cast into the burning fiery furnace while they were bound. The next thing is you can be pulled, you can be promoted, but then sometimes God will push you into things. They said, no, God didn't push me into that. Oh, yeah. Sometimes you won't discover who you really are until you get pushed into some fire. Until you get pushed into a burning situation. Because fire will either purify you or it will consume you. It will either purify some things that need to come off of you, or it will consume your life. So some situations, y'all are rebuking the devil. But God said, I allowed it so you can see what you're really made of. So therefore, because the king's command was urgent, the furnace was exceedingly hot, the flame of the fire killed the men who put them in there. I don't have time to get into that. These 3 men were Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. They fell down bound. Someone say they fell down bound. It's one thing for me to fall down and have what I need to get up. But it's another thing for me to fall down and I'm bound. When I'm bound, I have nothing to get myself back up. They threw them in with the intention of them not coming out. They threw them in with the intention of them not overcoming it. And I want to preach for the next 3 minutes for those people who you were not supposed to succeed. You were not supposed to be in your right mind. You were not supposed to be here today because everything in your life was designed for you to fail. Everything in your life was designed to destroy you. You were not supposed to be the parent you are. You were not supposed to be the wife you are. You are not supposed to be the student you are. But you have defied every statistic that has been placed against you. You were pushed into something so you could learn what you were made of. He was pushed into it. They were pushed into it. The king, but all of a sudden, this is at the end of the story, Pastor Guillaume, they fell down in the midst of the burning fire furnace. But then all of a sudden, the king rose up. He was astonished. He said, wait a minute. Shadrach, 2005. Meshach, 2006. Abednego, 2007. Wait a minute. Go back. First year anniversary. Shadrach. Second year anniversary. Meshach. Third year anniversary. Abednego. But I threw them into the fire. There's no way they're supposed to get to. There was about, I know, at least 25 people who left in year 3. And they left and they said everything bad against the church. And they said the church wasn't deep enough. And they said the church didn't have prophetic prowess and authentic. And they said there was no way. And they said Pastor Mario and Lady Mel's marriage wasn't even real and authentic. And there's just no way. And yet I threw them in. Year 3, I threw everything at them that I could possibly throw at them. They went through divorces. They got cancer. They had abortions. They lost babies. They lost jobs. They got laid off. Pastor Gilm had a car repossessed. I did everything to attack the leadership in year 3. Everything possible to make sure that they would not make it past year 3. I'm going to downsize the church. I'm going to make sure nobody comes. I'm going to make it skim. I'm going to make it empty. I'm going to drain the life out of the people in year 3. I'm going to bind them so they can't even get out of it. But I'm looking at the fire that I threw them in. Shadrach, Meshach said, we don't care about what you throw us into. Because the last thing is, because I got a promise. So they were thrown into the fire. But even though they were thrown in not to be able to get out, they were walking in the fire with a promise. So the person is looking back at the fire. He said, I see year 1. I see year 2. I see year 3. I see year 3. But I'm wondering, why do I see year 4? And why does year 4 look so fantastic? Everything about 1, 2, and 3 was a struggle. But I'm wondering why in year 4 it looks like something fantastic is with them. Well, when I look at year 4, he said, look, in there, verse 25, he said, I see everything I threw at them in there, but I see something else. I see the things that I threw in. They're not in their bound no more, but they're walking around loose. They're not bound with what they were bound with before. They're not struggling with what they were struggling with. They're not going through what they were going through. They're not talking about their mind playing tricks on them no more. Guillaume still don't have another car, but I see credit scores getting better. I see bills being paid off. I see things coming to you that you may not see yet. I see people graduating from college. I see people getting married. I see people having children. Even though your womb's been barren, but I speak to your womb and I say, hear the word of the Lord. Whatever's got to work, get to working. Get to working. So what is this I see in year 4? Well, I see them walking in the midst of the fire. They ain't hurt. What that means is, I know it was designed to hurt you, Sarah. It was designed to make you stop praying. It was designed to make you stop worshiping. But whatever was designed didn't kill you, didn't destroy you, didn't take you out. I know you thought it was going to take you out, but look at a few people and say, I'm still living. I'm still alive. I made it through it. I'm still here. Look at somebody, say, I'm still here. Y'all don't know how to testify. Y'all looking at yourself, but look at somebody who knows what you went through, knows what you struggled with, knows what it was like, and say, look, I'm still alive. I'm still here. I may not have what I used to have. Mama Judy, I don't have both my breasts anymore because of the cancer. But Mama Judy, I didn't preach your funeral. I ain't celebrating your death. You're still alive, still here, by the grace. Look Look at somebody and say, I'm still here. Come on, Darius. Give me some real sound. I feel real Pentecostal. I need a sound. Come on, Jackie McCullough. Put your hands together and give God praise. He said, they are not hurt, but sorrowing. He said, but an interesting thing is that when I look in the fire, I see them surviving. But it's so interesting. It's because something else is walking with them that I didn't put in there. I put 3 people in there. But there's somebody walking in there that I haven't met. But I recognize him. I don't know him as my personal Savior, but I know him. I recognize him. So I want to prophesy to you about what year 4 is going to look like, and it's going to be in the form of the message of this title of this message. God told me to tell you this won't end the way it started. Y'all ain't celebrating. We started in struggle. We continued in struggle. 3 years was a hard year. Sister Bridget, I didn't think we want to have any teams left. I didn't think, Courtney, we want to have a worship team no more. I didn't know what year 4 was going to look like. But all of a sudden, April came back from Pennsylvania. All of a sudden, Miss Donna came to the church. All of a sudden, Bridget stepped up in leadership. All of a sudden, Claudia said, I might not be able to do what I used to do, but I'm still in it. Courtney said, I ain't no worship leader, but I do whatever I've got to do. My wife said, I don't preach like this all the time, but I got your back if you need me. My wife said, I'm ride or die. I thought you knew Singleton was going to leave the church because of what they said, but all of a sudden Singleton is back on the front row. Rock came from California to be with her sister, but her sister left and her daddy died, and then she got cancer and said, what am I going to do? Her hair's gone, but she still got her praise. She didn't leave. She's still in the fire. Erica had trust issues. Erica had insecurity issues, but now all of a sudden she's standing strong, got a job promotion. God is doing a great thing. Gwen had cancer, didn't think she was going to make it, but now she's got a baby. Now she's got kids. To God be the glory. Jason was sick, couldn't get well. He's still going through in his body, but he's singing one more time. I don't know what your story is. I don't know what you've been through, but I got one word. This won't end the way it started. Wherever you were, get used to something better. It's a fantastic 4, because the 4th person that was in the fire looked like Jesus. And I didn't start this church because of Pastor Mario, but I started this church for Jesus, the Son of the living God.
Jesus, Mary's baby. Jesus, wrapped in swaddling clothes. Jesus, I feel my Baptist self. Jesus, lily of the valley. Jesus, bright and morning star. Jesus, the stone that the builders rejected. Jesus, they crucified my Jesus. He walked around with the crown of many thorns. They laid him on top of a cross, pierced him in his side. Jesus, they put a crown of thorns and made fun of him, but he was sitting beside, Mario, this ain't Easter, but he was sitting beside a robber who said, if you are who you say you are, take care of it yourself. But another person on the other side said, I don't know if it's you, but if it's you, let me be with you in paradise. There are two types of friends you're going to have. People who will question you and people who will believe you. But this person said, Jesus said, today you will be with me. Well, that same Jesus breathed his last breath and the devil thought they had him. Year one, he was in a tomb. Year two, he was in a tomb. But early on the third day, I know it didn't look well. I know it didn't look like he was coming out. But he got up with all power in his hand. Look at somebody and say, I'm coming out with power. No more suicide. No more thoughts of giving up. I'm coming out this year. I'm coming out this year. 2019. I'm coming out. I want you to know, church, there's something on the horizon. I can see the cloud the size of a man's hand. And I want you to know that it's getting ready to rain. Come here, Paul Morton. Open the floodgates of heaven and let it rain. Somebody open up their mouth and say, let it rain. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. Happy anniversary. To God be the glory. To God.
Thank you for watching the message, but I want to make sure that you're connected beyond the message. Visit our website or stay connected to all of our social media sites so that you can find different ways to get plugged in. I would love to meet you on Sundays at 1 p.m. or our first Tuesdays for our Impact Night. Be sure to like and subscribe and even share this channel so that we can continue to reach people. If you would like to help us even reach people further, please click the Give Now button when you visit our website. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.